Are you feeling like you're going to have Keon when the season starts available? And then also just how do you feel confidence wise about the status of the three teams coming there to Lexington this weekend, and if everybody's going to be able to safely get there and get this thing teed off?
Let me key on first. I do not believe he'll be here the first week. We're still, it's day-to-day kind of stuff, but he hasn't done live stuff yet. So we got to get him doing live stuff, even though he's conditioning and doing all the other stuff. Until he's in there, I don't feel comfortable. Second thing, this thing is, we don't control it. It controls us, this virus. And so I just heard Mississippi now is out until December 7th. What I'm doing is everything I can to mitigate here. We're in the lodge. You guys know, anybody that knows this knows this situation. We're in the lodge. Nobody else is in there. They got their own bedroom and bathroom. The chef cooked their meal there. He's there. He gets tested. They walk across the parking lot to our practice facility. No one is in the offices. So there's no like it can go through the system. There's no one in here. And so you have us and the women on different sides. We come in different doors. We don't see each other. The problem is when we start playing. The good news is they're saying that of all the sports, they don't believe anyone has caught it from the playing field or the court. They think it's meal rooms, hotels, planes, buses. It's contact with others outside of that area. And we've done a pretty good job. So all I can tell you is even though we think we're doing good, we're wearing those chips to every practice, every scrimmage. We're having the officials wear it, the managers, the coaches, to mitigate all this. I just want to make sure our kids are safe. We're talking right now, and I've never done this before, but we may travel on game day. Like game day. Like you say, why would you travel on a day of a game? Wouldn't you be better being rested? Yeah, but it's another hotel stay. We're going to have our personal bus to wherever we're playing so that when we get off that plane, we're on a bus that's sanitized with the bus driver we know. And then go to the gym if we have time to shoot around. If we don't, we don't. We go to the hotel, lay around for an hour or two, have a pregame meal, play the game, immediately get on our own bus on that plane that didn't leave. It's the same plane we came in. We get on it, we go. We may have face shields and I may be overdoing it, but I'd rather be safe than sorry.
Cal, just as of today, are all three teams good to go?
Yeah, I called Brad last night and asked when they're getting they've been good, and they've had another test yesterday. They'll get it back today in Detroit. I'm hearing Morehead has been good in Richmond. So it appears as though we're good to go, but that's today.
All right, next up we'll go with Daryl Bird, and then John Haley will be after him.
Good morning, John. Your thoughts on moving the tournament, March Madness, to Indianapolis, perhaps, and might we see an actual S-curve seating for the first time?
Well, this I got to give it to Mitch and that committee that bubbling it up is the safest way for these kids to play basketball. Having 6 courts in Indianapolis where they can play, and kind of like the old NAIA, if you remember, where there would be 32 teams come in, and when you lose, you're out. You're on the bus, you go home, and they just play it down. They told me the reason the NBA bubble, the basketball, was so good is because the teams didn't have to travel and they got in a rhythm of playing. So the rhythm they didn't want was 3 or 4 days off and have to play. They wanted to play every other day. Well, you know what? We can kind of do the same thing. And it hurt us here in Lexington because we had the first and second rounds, but this wasn't about Lexington. This wasn't about Kentucky. This is about we're in an environment that we feel this is the best way. And I agree with them. And so I think what they did and the stance they took, I think was a good one.
All right, John Hale, you got next.
You talk about the unpredictability of the virus. I'm just wondering, what's your comfort level with having fans at these games this week, and what effect is limited crowds going to have on the product we see?
John, I imagine your hair looks really bad. Is that why you don't have a picture?
No, I'm in my car. That's why. I got a haircut, though.
Okay. So what did you ask me? Oh, fans.
What's your comfort level with fans?
Yeah. So here's what I would say. The team that gets hurt the most, and forget about financial or anything else, by not having fans or only having 15% or whatever, is Kentucky. And the reason it is, people coming to this building are always playing in front of 20-some thousand. And it's a big advantage for us. Our fans and our fan base in that building play a big part in our success. I don't know what our record is during my 11 years here, but I think it's pretty high in this building. Well, if it's just a building and a court, we don't have the advantage we usually have. So it's going to hurt us more than anybody else. My hope is we figure out a way that fans that want to come to the game can be tested, so that people are comfortable being in our building, not just with the thermometer and saying, okay, they don't have a fever, because there's asymptomatic people. But there's a test given a couple days before. Now, a test isn't the vaccine, but people will feel more comfortable having a mask on, having social distance. Maybe we can get more in our building if we figure out a way to try to test, so that everybody's comfortable that, look, and maybe we show the rest of the country this is like the only way you can increase the number of fans there. But I think we're a ways away. We're just going to try to get through these first 3 games in 5 days, which is going to be hard for my team. Just so you know, we scrimmaged yesterday, and I came home smiling, and I told my wife, she said, wow, was it good? I said, it was our worst scrimmage since I've been the coach here. I've got both feet and hands on the panic button right now. So I'm just hoping that they needed to play against somebody else and they just got tired of each other. Because if not, I'm going to have to be the most patient soul on the earth when we start the season like 0-6. And I'm going to just be patient. That's what you should say to me. Be patient, because I like the team. Not playing hard enough, not enough team defense. Everybody's still locked into their own thing. I need my stuff where instead of making easy plays, I got to make a play. And so it leads to turnovers or putting guys in bad positions that they can't play. We have a ways to go. And again, we got 10 new guys. And I know you do it every year. We have 10 new players. So we're not very good right now. But I think in time we should be okay.
All right, next up, we'll go with Derek Tippett, the Herald leader, and then Ian Begley. I'll come to you after that.
John, I was going to basically ask you about young team and not having any exhibitions, not even the blue-white game, to give people a feel. How helpful are those kind of games in a normal year?
Well, I'm not worried about giving people a feel. I'm worried about giving me a feel. Like, what is this team? And so no exhibition. We're not one that we've scrimmaged in the past, but, we have none of that. They only played against themselves. They're tired. They're playing our plays, if you know what I'm saying. They know what the plays are. They're playing them against each other. And so it's hard to make a pass. It's, and again, guys, as you're doing this, you and I know there are certain games, certain guys will stand up and other guys will stand up. And by the end of the year, we'll have 7 guys that have scored 25 or 30 in a game. But you're not doing it every game. And we're still, we're not trusting everything. We're not trusting each other. We're not trusting how we're playing. You would say, well, why wouldn't they? Haven't they seen the history of what's happened for the kids? And yes, but I want to do this. So they're still fighting it a little bit. We got good kids. We're asking guys to do stuff they've never done before, which means they're going to be a little uncomfortable. asking them to create habits they've never had before, which means they're a little bit uncomfortable. You know, we have shot blockers. We just don't block any shots. I don't understand it, but we don't. And, you know, we have length, but we're not really good defensively right now. And I think a lot of it's team defense. But
All right, next up, we're going to go with Ian Begley and then Mark Berman. You'll be after that.
Coach, thank you for doing this. What do you think about Emmanuel quickly, and what can you tell Knicks fans about what they could expect from him on the court and what he's like off the court?
Ian, everybody on this call that's the Kentucky media knows he's one of the great kids that I've coached. And Ian, here's my question, and this is where I'm into analytics, but there are certain things that analytics can't evaluate. One is you can go where you want to go, but you pick a school that's going to be really hard with other really good players, and you may have to take a step back, but you pick that school anyway. How do you evaluate that? Or do you go where they just promise you whatever you want, how many shots? Okay, that's one. How do you evaluate a young man who the beginning of his second year was good enough to start, but I didn't want a 3-guard rotation. I would have 3 point guards in at one time. So the first 7 games, I don't start him. He trusts the process. He trusted me. And by the end of the year, he's player of the year in the league and going away, player of the year in our league. And we win our league by 3 games. How do you analyze that? How do you evaluate? How about this? You may say, here are 2 games that you didn't play very well. But when you look at it, you say, but their team won, and because he wasn't shooting, he didn't shoot as much as he had been shooting, but he defended, rebounded, he had 2 steals. He did other things to help the team win. How do you analyze that? This guy is going to stretch the court, and the NBA has changed. It's about lane touches and being able to stretch the court by the threat of making threes. If you can't shoot a 3, you're not going to be guarded in that league anymore. Second thing is he's played dribble drive downhill basketball with a spaced court. It's going to be spaced more now because of the way the NBA plays it. And I think what you're going to find out is a guy that mentally is ready, is on a mission, is a gym rat, is a culture guy, great faith, big family that unconditionally love him, and he knows it, and he's comfortable in his skin. They made a great one. It was a hell of a pick, I'll tell you.
All right, Mark Berman, you got next, and then Noah Goldberg will be after that.
Hey, John. Yeah, they're being called the Kentucky Knicks, 4 Kentucky players and Kenny Payne. How does it feel to have so many Kentucky guys in New York? And, you know, they just added Noel. You know, just are you going to be watching a lot of Knicks games this year?
Well, first of all, I watched, Mark, more games because of the bubble, because they came one after the other, and West Coast games were East Coast time, and I got to see more games, and they were the best basketball in the NBA. Would you agree, Mark, that you've seen? Like, unbelievable games. And even before the playoffs, because they were rested, they were on a rhythm, and you saw the best basketball players in the world play. So that's one. The second thing is, yeah, I will be watching a lot of Knick games. Leon is a dear friend. Wes is a dear friend. Kenny, and he's like my brother. And now you got some of my guys there. Nerlens was a great pickup, and let me tell you why. It's time to break through for him. And now what they're trying to do and how they're trying to do it, they're not trying to do it in a hurry. They got a terrific coach, a proven coach, a playoff coach, and now they've just got to build within. And they're going to start doing it. I mean, I think they've got – the reason I encourage them with Kenny Payne, how good can Julius be? Like, he's good. Well, where can we really go? With Kenny there, I think he's got one more guy in his corner to help build his confidence, to train him, to push him. Also, Kevin Knox. Mark, do you and Ian remember what I said when you drafted him? Oh, he's the youngest guy in the draft. Don't expect it overnight. It may take 2 or 3 years. And everybody nodded like you are. And then when he doesn't turn it around right away, they say, well, what's up with Kevin Knox? Kevin Knox, again, let's see how good he can be. And that's why you want a Kenny Payne with you. And I think that the Knicks are on a different path. You may not see right away overnight the results that listen, it took us a while to get here. It's going to take a little while to get us where we want to go, but it took us a while to get where we are. Didn't happen in a year. So let this thing play out, and I think in the end, I think everybody's going to be pleased.
All right, next up, we'll go with Noah Goldberg, and then Zach Miskevich will be after that.
Hey, John. Looking ahead to the final game of this Bluegrass Showcase, Richmond's a team that really tries to destroy their opponents in assist-to-turnover ratio. Of course, Jacob Gilyard led the nation in steals last year. In your preparation for this game, you have 2 incredibly talented freshmen in Terrence Clark and Brandon Boston, but of course, they're still young guys. How much of your preparation has been to drill into them, stay in control, stay within yourselves when they're going up against, as you've talked about, experience, a much older, controlled, experienced team that really tries to expose indecisiveness?
We haven't, because we have Morehead, they haven't heard me talk about Richmond. There are things that we're doing in practice to try to prepare them. So the day in between the Richmond game, we say, you remember all this stuff we were doing? Here's why we were doing it. Their experience, their ability to control the game, to make you play through every possession. If you play 15 seconds, you're getting beat. You got to play the whole possession. On offense, because of how they play, you cannot take high-risk plays. You got to be efficient offensively. Attack and run and get in the lane. But you're not making a 50-50 play. It's got to be a 70-30, 80-20, or don't make it. If you're going to take a bad shot against them, you take it late in the clock. Me saying all that to you, we have no chance of being like that, just so you know. That's our 3rd game of the year, 10 new players. They've never played against a college team, let alone a team that runs, quote, Princeton kind of stuff. So we're not – look, I've got 2 feet and 2 hands on the panic button. If I was worried about Richmond right now, I'd have my head pushing it down too.
All right, Zach,
Thanks, Coach.
You got next, and then Sam Furley will go to you after that.
Coach, I'm based out of Orlando, kind of changing the subject here. I saw your tweets the other day about the passing of former Stetson coach Glenn Wilkes. I just kind of wanted to know your thoughts on your relationship with him and what he meant to the game of basketball.
Well, he's the father of Florida college basketball. He is one of the he's one of those guys that took me under his wing. I have no idea why. You'd have to ask his family, his wife. I don't know. But he was one that was almost like my protector. But I got a great story for you. And I told him this. He loved this story. I'm taking Tony Barbie. I'm coaching at UMass. And I'm taking my team to play at Purdue for Tony Barbie. That's the only reason. Tony was from Indianapolis, and I said, every one of my freshmen, before you leave here, will be able to play in your hometown. That was one of my things back then. So we're on the bus, and Purdue is playing Stetson. Probably 91. We're on the bus, and Stetson makes a run. And my team is cheering for Stetson. I pull the bus over and stand up and turn that radio off. Are you out of your mind? If Stetson wins this game, we got no shot at beating Purdue. So stop. Stetson won the game, if you remember. And we had no shot. We got in a fight in the hallway. No, they fought us in the hallway. Like, as we came down the same tunnel, oh, they were throwing my guys against the wall. My guys, what's wrong with you? And we got beat by 30. I mean, it was like, and I tell him, you cost us a butt whipping. And he loved the story. But, you know, as a coach, as an organizer, he was the first one that ran camps and told us how you run a camp, how you teach young people, how you organize it, how you do this so that they benefit by this experience. He was the best. But he, aside from the basketball, always had a smile. Like, he was older, and George Raveling got sick and was in the hospital. And I went out to see Coach Rav, and he said, Coach Wilkes is going to be here tomorrow. What? He flew cross country. Now, I'm telling you, this was maybe 2 years ago, so he was 88, 89, cross country to go to the hospital to see George Raveling. When he was your friend, he was your friend, and he was your protector. And that's why I said what I said. I was just so sad. And Coach Rav hit me right away, said, Coach Wilkes died last night. And it was a pit in my stomach.
All right, Sam Furley, you got next. Adam Zagori, you're after him.
Hey, Coach, thanks for joining us. I cover the Hornets for the team website. I was curious about one of your former guys, Nick Richards. What kind of player and person and individual are the Hornets getting in Richards? And how do you think having a former teammate and another one of your former guys, P.J. Washington, will kind of help him throughout his rookie season in the NBA?
Well, I immediately, first of all, I called PJ before the draft, and I said, I hope you talked to your guys about Nick. He said, oh, I did. And, you know, Buzz called me, and I said, Buzz, here's the thing. Buzz Peterson, here's the thing. One, he's a rim runner. He's 7 foot tall, and he can shoot. He's learned to guard multiple positions. He's been a late bloomer because he started playing later. But he grew every year he was here. And I said, and here's the biggest thing I want to tell you. This tells you about him as a person. In his last meeting where he came in and we just were chopping it up, and he said, you know, like, I want to thank you and the staff because you guys believed in me when I didn't even believe in myself. That first year was hard. And again, analytically, how do you measure that? Where it was really rough and he had to stay with it. Because when you walk in that NBA, I'm trying to tell, look, if everything was given to you, you're walking in a league that you better be a dog and you better take what you want. No, they're not running plays for you anymore. You're not going to have the ball 90% of the time. You're going to have to earn your way. And so Nick earned his way. If Emmanuel Quickley wasn't player of the year, next year, last year, you know, it was unbelievable. And let me just say this. I was just on the phone with Ryan Saunders. We were talking about Ashton. And I said to Ryan, did you guys notice the emotion of every player that was picked? He said, we did. It was 8 months that these kids had to wait to see where they're going. A player like Nick, who was hoping late first round, but we didn't have an NCAA tournament to show our players off like we do every year. Now he gets picked. The kid was in such tears, sobbing, he had to call me back. So, because I had him on FaceTime and I could see, he said, Coach, let me call you back. All these players, 8 months, the emotion of it, it was incredible to see, which tells you this has been tough emotionally on them. And I referred back to my guys. It's been tough on my guys. I mean, we're having Thanksgiving and we are having parents come in, having them tested, trying to keep them away from their kids, telling them we've been so good because we're in a bubble down here in the lodge and in the practice facility. We can't screw up now. But how could I tell a parent not to come who hadn't seen his son in 5 or 6 months? I can't do that. I couldn't. Now, I told him, we got to stay separated. We're hoping there are going to be fans at our games, but if they're not, they're not. I can't let you in practice. You cannot come to practice. No one is in our practices. All this makes it hard on the kids I have who are 17, 18, and 19. So this has been a rough road for the kids, and like I said, another team, Ole Miss now not opening up till December 7th. I mean, and the virus it's controlling all this.
Guys, got about 5-6 minutes left. Doing our best to get around to the questions. Adam Zagoria, you got next. After that, Alex Walker.
Yeah, hi, John. I'm going to just give you one more Knicks question here to follow on Ian and Mark. They didn't make any big free agent signings here really with no Gordon Hayward and no Fred VanVleet, but they do have the 4 Kentucky guys. What kind of DNA do those guys bring to the team, and what can fans kind of realistically expect from this team? And also, if you could just talk about Khalil Whitney signing with Charlotte and the opportunity he has there, please. Thanks.
Yeah, I was so happy for Khalil. I hit him before the draft and wished him well and tell him I'd be watching. And anybody that called me about Khalil, I said, one of the great kids. He still texts me. It didn't quite work out the way he wanted it to. But he is a great kid and a great talent, and he's going to get a chance. Here's the greatest thing about the NBA. There's no politics in this. Either you can play and make it or not. It's not about race or religion. Players know who can play and who can't play. More than coaches know. And so all these guys, whether they're drafted first round, lottery, late first round, second round, or like Ashton Higgins, you're going on a two-way, which this year, a two-way, you're with the team. He's like he got drafted. So now prove yourself. You're there. You're in camp. Well, if I would have been drafted, you're in there. There's no politics. It's can you help them win? Do you have what it takes? That's why I love it when I see kids sign. E.J. Montgomery going to Milwaukee. It's the greatest place for him. He's going to go against other guys that look like him, the length of him, and see the fight. And now when I said to E.J., you're fighting for survival. You're fighting for your life. And he hit me back, I got you, coach. Now, let me say this about the Knicks not signing anybody. The Knicks are not going to do anything now to try to win 10 more games now and screw up 15. They're going to. That's not talking to Leon. That's not talking to. It's not talking to Scotty. None of those guys. I'm just telling you. I knew early on, Leon, and they talked to me about what they were trying to do and how they were going to do it. And if they could snatch somebody that could help them win, but they're not going to do it to where it hurts the next 7 years. So I will tell you what I like is my guys now have an opportunity on the biggest of big stages to go prove themselves. And now I think what you're going to find out, they're going to be disciplined because that's what Tibbs is. They're going to play defense because that's what Tibbs is. They're going to take it. It isn't going to be the fancy. That's not who he is. It's going to be, we're going to get this done. We're going to play fast, but we're taking good shots. I think the guys that he has, they're going to make a step. Do they need more to make the next step? Yeah, they do. I mean, it's a players' league. You have 3 all-stars, you'll be one of the last 4 teams standing. You have no all-stars, it's hard to get in that play. It's just hard. And now, can you develop all-stars with the guys you have? Can you then bring in – that's what they're doing. So I think the Knicks will be fine. And Eric, because my answers have been very, very short, we'll go a little bit longer so that some of you guys get hit. My feet are off the panic button right now, so I feel a little bit better doing this than having to watch game tape and practice tape and go like, oh my gosh, what am I doing?
Actually, guys, we got 3 more because I got Davion Mintz waiting. So we're going to go with Alex, Jeff, and then Justin, and then I want to get Davion in here. So Alex, go ahead. Alex, you there? One once, one twice. All right, moving on. Jeff Drummond, you got next.
Hey, Cal, I just wanted to touch on your panic button again one more time at the risk of raising your blood pressure a little bit. But is there any one aspect going into a first game that kind of would typically keep you up at night before an opener? And in what ways is that magnetized?
Well, the mistake I may have made with this group, I should have worried more about fight, playing the whole possession, done less, maybe not had enough in to really win a game, like less offense, less out of bounds, less situational work, and more throw it up, let's go, fight. Every drill, fight, body to body. But you worry injury, you worry we got to play games, you worry our schedule, which is way, way too top heavy for this group. So you try to balance it, but I think I went a little bit too much. Let's be prepared to look like a basketball team. One of the teams I coached here, my first year, was the worst execution team I had, but they would fight, and we won a lot of games. And that we knew, that team, we could win a national championship unless shooting bit us. And we went, we shoot 0 for 22 from the 3 or whatever it was, but we knew that's the one thing that could get us, and it hit us that time. But this team, if we're not fighting, if we're not playing full possessions, if we're trying to play tired, like, well, in high school, I played it every minute. You can't. We got to keep it on. That's how we are. It's all stuff I think they're going to have to learn as we go.
Justin Rose, you got next, and then Paul Banks. We'll end it with you, and then we'll get Davion in here.
Hey, Cal, greetings from Detroit. I just got off a Zoom call with, Antoine Davis is pretty good, but there's another player for Detroit Mercy who's just a star in the making named Brad Calipari. I don't know if you've heard of this kid or not. What's your anticipation?
My wife tells me about him all the time, just so you know.
What's your anticipation? I know he's been with you guys for a couple of years, and then he transferred up here. Just to play against him, it's just fun to see from the outside fathers and sons and their connections in the basketball world.
Well, I've already told our team, if anybody blocks his shot, they're out. And that I told him we're going to play him a box and one, so you're not getting any balls, just so you know. But I'm so proud of him. I'll tell you what he's done discipline-wise, his diet, what he's done training, what he's done. He went up to South Dakota and trained on his own. Like, he didn't, he said, this is what I want to do. And he stayed in a hotel and washed his own sheets. And, he loves his team. He loves Mike. He said their team is better. He won't give me any hints on how they're going to play or anything like that. I said, well, how do you think you're going to play? He said, Dad, you think I'm going to tell you? We're trying to beat you. And so, but I want him to play well, and we want to beat Detroit. And the only problem is, Mike's kid could go for 50, and so you better have someone to guard him, and you better say, understand, he'll ball fake you, he'll get you to foul, that's how he plays, and he could get 50 on my team. I don't have an Ashton Higgins that I say, we got this, we're okay. We don't have that guy. He's playing for the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Paul Banks, you got last question with Cal. We're moving to the players.
Thanks for doing this, and thanks for staying late. I know you already alluded to earlier with 10 new players, and like you said, this is something that you do every year at Kentucky. But feel uncharted territory. I mean, is this more than just business as usual? Is there any team that's had this kind of turnover and youth and inexperience that you can think of?
Yeah, it was a different kind of team, maybe a more physical team. This team isn't real physical. The team I had in 14, that we started 5 freshmen, but the 2 guards were physical. Julius was physical. Even James Young was physical. And I think, was Dakari on that team? I think he was. He was physical. So this team doesn't have that physique. If you remember that team, we didn't figure it out till March. And then we tweaked some stuff, and it totally changed who we were. But early on, I mean, we played Michigan State, or we're down 20. I mean, it was like we were getting smoked. Not quite as bad as Duke had us down when we had Tyler Hero and Bam I'm sorry, not Bam, but Tyler Hero and that crew when they had us down 40. But it was, this is a different one. Trying to get them on the same page, I think what's going to happen is they got to get smacked a little bit to where they're like looking at me like, Coach, tell us how we got to do this because we're not liking this. The biggest thing that I don't think this group, and I just met with two of the guys, which is why I was a little late. They got to understand how they're all tied together. Your jobs are to pick each other up. Your jobs are to make it easier for each other. If you're out here doing your own thing and these two guys struggle, you too, all the stuff you think is going to happen ain't happening. Believe me, I've done this 35 years. I know I look 40, but I've done it a long, long time. And so now you got to be those guys. Can't have body language, can't have meltdowns. You got to be with these guys and really locked in. Yesterday showed us that we have that in us. Oh my gosh. Let's hope we got it out yesterday. Because if that becomes who we are, whew,
All right, guys.
it's going to be rough.